Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of a new Trekkie. My 5-year mission to search out Star Trek media, to seek out our fans and merchandise, to boldly go where no fan has gone before.
Greetings and salutations, how's everybody doing? So today, looking at the Star Trek Phase 2 episode, the two-part episode in that case, Blood and Fire. Let's look at part 1 first. Since it is a two-parter. What happened in part 1? Well, in part 1, Ensign Peter Kirk asked his uncle James to marry him and his lover, Lieutenant Alex Freeman. But first, both of them joined a security team headed by Mr. Spock, investigating a distress call by the USS Copernicus. Originally, this episode was going to be an episode that was going to be a episode on The Next Generation. However, production staff, including Rick Berman, had a negative reaction to positive depiction of an openly gay couple. And there was also a memo from Berman where AIDS was one of the issues that should be addressed on the show, which in this episode, it kind of is. Mostly in the basis of, like, say, the bloodworms, which is, like, say, the force of, like, you know, like, it's going after the crew and, in a way, like, hey, these aren't something you want to mess with.
Man down! Next floor, computer junction! Help me! Help me!
And I'll be honest, for a part 1 episode, it does a good job in that the effects for, say, the bloodworms are passable. I mean, this is a fan film, so we have to accept that it's not going to be a full, like, you know, professional thing from the original Trek or the new series, or anything like that. And I do have to say that this episode came out in, like, originally, like, say, this had been, like, an episode in The Next Generation, which was still, like, you know, in the 80s or 90s and all that. I can't see that, I can see the episode not really doing well, or being really particularly accepted, honestly. Mostly just because, like, say, ooh, you're going to tackle this, in a way. Mostly just because, you know, I can't see people coming back and say, yeah, this was handled well, or something like that. And honestly, I'm bisexual. I do have to say the acting for the first time we realized, oh,
Guess who?
Mr. Sue.
You wish.
they're a couple. Is instead of, like, you know, like, well, here's my thing. It just comes off as just like, the acting isn't great. I'll be honest. That's all. How I'll say it.
You make everything alright. Not this time.
And Yeah, I mean, honestly, I gotta say that it's passable for what it's trying to do. Like, say the fact, okay, we have a gay couple, and one of them is related to the captain and all that. And I'll be honest, like, say this kind of episode had came out when the time of the original run of Trek, I'm not sure how they would have approached it. They would have, like, said, yeah, Captain Kirk is accepting of that. I don't know. But honestly, I can say part 1 is pretty good in the fact the acting is just alright. I do have to say that we have a new actor, 2 new actors for both Mr. Spock, Ben Toplin, and as a new actress playing Uhura. In this case, Kim Stinger.
It is a metaphor, Mr. Chekhov. The red giant is a very old star. The blue-white dwarf is pulling the fire out of it. It will take thousands of centuries, of course.
Still a spectacular view.
Mr. Chekhov, locate the Copernicus.
And honestly, I guess, like, say, since, like, there was already been a few episodes previously with the cast members for those characters, and those actors, they do a good job. Honestly, I would have to see, like, them return more and say, okay, they were as good as the previous actors to figure out a perspective. So, let's go ahead and look at the part 2. In part 2, Spock, Peter, Kirk, and Alex Freeman are stuck aboard the USS Copernicus, which is infested with Regalian bloodworms and has to be destroyed. However, they meet 2 researchers aboard who claim to have a cure for the infection. And we have the guest appearance of Denise Crosby as Dr. Jenna Yar, who is also the great-grandmother of Natasha Yar.
It's vital we get this information to the Enterprise. Plasmacytes bind hemoglobin into chains. When they reach critical mass, they animate, they transmute, they turn into bloodworms.
Yes, we've seen. Mr. Spock, the repulsors are surrounded.
Honestly, I gotta say that part 2 does a good job. Honestly, the fact, like, say, okay, like, everyone is, like, we're trying to get everyone off the ship, trying to get everyone to where they need to be, and all that. I do have to say that it's, like, and eventually, like, say, okay, we're getting everyone off, but eventually they realize, oh shoot, we gotta get more blood, because we're running out of it, and all that. And we also run into the Klingons who basically say, hey, we want to blow this ship up because we believe you're going to use the bloodworms to use them as a weapon against us.
Bloodworms. Bloodworms. Rescue. Impossible. You lie, Kirk. Every race in the galaxy knows the danger of bloodworms. Destroy that ship immediately. If you do not do it, I will. Lock disruptors on target. Prepare to fire.
However, the Klingons are in a way partially correct because one of them, like one of the researchers are going like say, yeah, I want to do that because I don't like them. And so yeah, like I do have to say, but sadly, eventually, like, only Peter is left on the Copernicus, and unfortunately, he has to make a decision. Either let the bloodworms get me, or, zap myself. And, yeah. Here's how I feel honestly about this entire episode, 2-part episodes. Honestly, I feel like if this episode was redone today, but it was given its the opportunity a full, like, I'm not saying these actors are bad. I'm not saying that at all. But I feel like, say, if it was getting a full production, like, a good budget, and, like, and then, like, have the opportunity to flesh out the characters, and all that. I mean, the characters are fleshed out, like, honestly, altogether, this is an hour long, like, an hour and 20-minute episode. So, honestly, like, I feel like this episode could be done well today, if...
Alex! Don't go!
I'm so sorry,
Alex!
I thought I had more time.
Somebody help him!
I guess I'm gonna need this after all.
Hang on, Freeman. You're almost there.
Alex! Alex!
I don't know, I feel like if this episode was done today, it could be done well, too. I don't know. Honestly, I just feel like this episode is where I'm realizing, say, yeah, it's not as good as the previous episodes that we had looked at previously when it comes to the series. But I'll say this, it's an attempt. The effects are good for the bloodworms, the space, like, dog fighting sequences are good. So, overall, it's an attempt. They did the best that they could for what they were trying to do. But, honestly, that's how I feel. And, honestly, I give the credit for that. But what are your thoughts on the episode Blood and Fire, Part 1 and Part 2 of New Phases 2?